The following dramatization is based on the book Me and My Shadows by Lorna Luft.
Hello, this is Robert Ackerman. I'm the director of Judy Garland, Me and My Shadows, and I'm here today with Lorna Luft, who wrote the book and who's the daughter of Judy Garland, and the costume designer, Dona Granata. The movie starts, the first thing we see is a movie theater that also had live vaudeville shows. And I believe, Lorna, that was your grandfather's profession. He owned that theater, didn't he?
He did own that theater. And those are my aunts on the stage. And there's Baby Gum.
There's Baby Gum.
And there's Baby Gum, my mom.
Who became Judy Garland. She was only 2 years old the first time she ever sang on stage. Do you remember when we shot this? This little girl was actually only 2.5 years old. Everybody on the crew came over to me and they said, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do? This kid, how are you going to get this kid to sing?" And I said, "Well, we'll just let her do whatever she does and we'll film it." And she did it. I kept saying,
did.
"Judy Garland is in the building." She did it. And then your mother performed for years on the road till she was about 12 years old.
With her sisters.
This scene is that we're looking at now is her audition for MGM. When she was 12, she was singing constantly on the road with her sisters and doing sometimes 6 shows a day, and really rough life for a little kid.
Right, but my grandmother really, really wanted the Gum sisters to perform because my grandmother really wasn't a great performer herself, so she saw her star in my mom.
But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this because she had auditioned for lots of studios and nobody wanted her.
Right.
And one day she got this call from an agent who really was a big fan and said they want to see you at Metro, MGM. And she had auditioned at MGM before, but with no luck. And your grandfather just pulled her in these clothes that she was wearing. She was a mess. She was outside in the backyard playing with her dog, covered in dirt, and she was certainly not dressed for an audition. And then when they told her that she was going to sing at MGM, she was so excited and thrilled because she was going to go to school with Mickey Rooney, who she had known from the time she was a little girl.
Right.
But the big problem for her when she finally did get to MGM was that they just didn't know what to do with her because of the way she looked. And the actress playing Judy Garland, Tammy Blanchard, was none of those things. Donna, she was tall, she was skinny, she was beautiful figure. She was everything that they would have loved at MGM in those days. I mean, in this particular scene that we're looking at now, she looks pretty good because this was the first thing we ever shot.
That's right.
And we weren't exactly sure how to make her look frumpy yet. And in this scene, she's with Mickey Rooney, and where they're headed is to the Portrait Gallery, which is the place where they used to do all the publicity. This costume is actually based on one of the photographs. It's actually a total replica.
And this is also one of the scenes that sets up this movie of exactly really what happened to my mom. And I have to say, this scene is one of my favorite scenes in this whole movie because it talks about her voice and how her voice really was her whole being. It was her soul, it was her heart, it was everything. She knew that she could sing better than anyone, but she didn't know how she got that voice.
And she was always afraid, she said, that it would be taken away from her. She actually says it in the scene, but it's something that she actually was afraid of and did express to many people, that she was afraid, well, if I don't know how I got this voice, I don't know how I'm going to keep this voice, and will it be taken away from me if it was just a gift?
Right.
And in the movie, you see she picks up the pillow that was his pillow.
Right.
And in real life, she wouldn't give up that pillow for about a week. She walked around carrying that pillow for a week.
That's right.
She was so attached to her father. I mean, it was devastating to her when her father died, totally devastating.
Well, she always felt that her father was the only one on her side. And her father also, there was a very, very close relationship between my mom and my grandfather because she was their last child.
Right.
And you know, unfortunately, my grandmother wasn't the kindest woman and did tell my mother later on in life that she had been a mistake.
Here they're on the set of Love Finds Andy Hardy. She had done a bunch of movies, and by this time was kind of popular. The public really liked her.
Really liked her a lot. And they liked the combination a lot of Mickey
and her.
And Mama. And interestingly enough, Mickey Rooney and my mom sort of came from the same background of very aggressive parents. They had traveled around in vaudeville, so they had a bond between them that was, apparent in reality for the rest of their lives. And they really understood each other. They were almost the same height, and they really had a great, great friendship.
And in this scene, they gave her the book for her 16th birthday, The Wizard of Oz. And they did promise her that she would play Dorothy. And what we're hearing here is that they had decided to go with her, but then the New York office was very frightened because it was going to be such an expensive movie that they decided they would need somebody who was a bigger star as some sort of box office insurance. So they went to Shirley Temple. But what happened was she couldn't sing it. And also 20th Century Fox refused to loan her out.
Right.
And here's this amazing image of Tammy Blanchard looking exactly like Dorothy. I mean, it's really so freaky, isn't it? Every time we ever did this, screen this movie in front of a live audience, every time that shot came on, there would be huge applause. Everybody went nuts when they saw Tammy as Dorothy.
And I just remember you yelling, "Look up, look up, look up."
Yeah, I kept telling her, "Look up, look up. You look more like Judy Garland when you look up, look up." There she goes. She's looking up.
The Wizard of Oz truly put Mama on the map. It really, really did. And she became MGM's star. But again, it was just another movie. Nobody realized that it would go on to become, one of the greatest and most beloved movies in the world.
Which was largely due to television. I mean,
Absolutely.
That's what happened. It became such a staple on television.
Absolutely.
And then they went on tour. They came to New York. If you've seen the footage of the two of them arriving in New York for their...
there were riots.
There were riots. It's like looking at shots of the Beatles landing in America.
Absolutely.
I mean, people just going nuts, all these teenagers going crazy. But it was really difficult for her. She didn't have the stamina to be doing all of these shows, live performances and touring, and she got through a lot of it by taking pills. But also, what's not clear in this movie, but it was at one point, but for some reason it got eliminated. I don't remember now, but he would say, next week we have when they sing Good Morning, Good Morning, he says, this song is from our new movie, Babes in Arms, opening here next week. They had already done another movie. They were just churning them out. They had her working nonstop. Nonstop. They just kept churning out those movies.
And this scene I love because Roger Eden's is, you see the friendship again. And I love the line where Tammy says,
"I'm just trying to make everyone happy."
Which is what she did. She did try to make everybody happy, and she was so overworked and so under so much pressure. She was a kid, and we chose to do this kind of montage to get some sort of a transition between the two actresses.
And tell, Bob, the decision of where to start Judy Davis and end Tammy Blanchard.
Well, the decision was made to start Judy Davis at the time when she met Vincent Minnelli, because it was the beginning of her adult life. And we felt that to go any further with Tammy would have really been intrusive. So we just thought
And it must have been a very hard choice for you.
Yeah, it was a very hard decision to make exactly where that break should happen. And there was a time when The Wizard of Oz was going to be Tammy's last scene in the movie. But when Tammy's part got expanded, the movie was made longer. But anyway, we always felt that the marriage to Vincent Minnelli was the start of her quote-unquote adult life. Yeah, and it was also the idea that we would never, in any of the reproductions, make it look like we were actually showing you a clip from the film. So we always found ways to pull back and make it look like
it was
it's
another
only a
take.
take. It's only a take.
It's a piece.
It's a piece. And it's not necessarily the piece you actually saw when you saw the movie.
Because that would be so dangerous. And I think that was such a brilliant,
Well, we never wanted it to look like, oh, you're supposed to be seeing what you've always been seeing
Right.
when you watch Meet Me in St. Louis. No, this is the making of Meet Me in St. Louis, and this is one take which may not have been the real take. What's
Yes.
so amazing about Judy Davis's performance, which may be overlooked, is that she actually makes you understand how great Judy Garland was. Because that's what's extraordinary. I mean, we can all put on a record and say, oh, wow, she was great. And then somebody tries to impersonate her or whatever.
And you run out of the room.
Well, you don't run out of the room, but you don't quite get it.
No.
You think, boy, I wish I could have seen Judy Garland. But when you see Judy Davis be Judy Garland, you feel like you've had the experience. You understand what made Judy Garland such a phenomenal performer.
Absolutely. And what was also a great compliment to Judy Davis is how Judy Davis and I spoke on the phone for a long time about this very scene of Over the Rainbow, and she wanted to know exactly when she cried, why she cried, and all of the things. She paid so much attention to not only the detail, because we had really no footage of my mom at the Palace Theater. So Judy Davis really didn't have too much
But
to
we
go
did have, we did.
But we
No.
did. We had footage of another performance after it.
Well, we had, right after she did the Palace,
Right.
she did this television special, and she did exactly this. So
Exactly.
we had that as a guide.
As a guide, but not her at the Palace.
No.
And this was, to me, the most extraordinary performance that I've ever seen an actor do. And she was just mind-boggling because she literally did this from her soul. And you could tell how much Judy Davis really adored my mother.
She adored her. She told me it's the first character I've ever played that I've absolutely fallen in love with. She was in love with her.
And you know what was amazing? Remember when we were shooting this? If you had opened up those doors, water would have come out. Everybody was sobbing so hard.
Yes,
Well,
it was
the whole
amazing.
crew, everybody, when she came and started to do this, it was just extraordinary. This was so extraordinary because this made me gasp how much Judy Davis really did look like my mom in this scene during A Star Is Born.
And she really didn't want to do this scene. She really
didn't, did she?
No, because she said to me, you're not asking me anymore to play Judy Garland. You're asking me to play Vicki Lester or Esther Blodgett. And she said, not only am I playing Esther Blodgett, I'm playing Judy Garland playing Esther Blodgett. And she said, Judy Garland is brilliant in this scene, and I don't want to do it. And we fought about it quite a bit. I mean, it went back and forth quite a bit. And I kept saying, it's such an important moment. It's such an important moment. And she said, I don't want to do it. And right up until the last minute, she called me the night before and she said, Bob, please, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Finally, I said to her, you know what, Judy? You don't have to do it. We'll figure out another way to do it. She said, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. This was a sad thing, though. The movie opened, Star Is Born opened. It was such a big hit. Rave reviews, lines around the block. And then the studio, they sort of punished them all and cut the movie by about 25 minutes. And totally arbitrarily. They didn't go to George Cukor.
Oh, no.
And they didn't go to Moss Hart, who wrote it. Even though Cukor and Hart had offered to make the cuts themselves, they went ahead and made these cuts.
And they butchered it.
Well, the critics went back and re-reviewed it and said they've ruined the movie, and nobody went. This movie that had gotten these brilliant reviews was then panned and became a flop, a box office flop. So Carnegie Hall was this incredible success for her.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And we actually had a poster, the poster, Judy, the real poster, with Judy Davis's face, but we weren't allowed to use it for
Now, a lot of
rights
people
reasons.
ask me why we didn't use Steadicam on this, but if you listening to Lorna describing what her mother went through before this performance, we did the shot handheld.
Yeah, it never occurred to us to use Steadicam.
Yeah, but it's also, we're in the 60s, and we start to get this handheld feeling.
Yeah, and to give it the rawness. And
now, these two numbers were done back to back. We did it like a live show, and that's a very important thing that she did.
People
a
ask
huge
me all
long
the
take.
time. People ask me all the time, how did you get this feeling of a live performance?
We shot it as a live performance.
I keep saying it's because when we got there and we started to line it all up, I said to her, I want you to start at the beginning of it and go right through the applause, right through the end, and we're going to do it in one take. And I didn't know we were going to do that until we got there. And then I realized it was the only way to do it. Now, here's an interesting thing, Lorna, that happens.
Oh, do I remember this?
Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
Yes, hello, this is Liza's mother. Is she there? Thank you. Liza, I need you over here right now. We're leaving tonight.
Mama was going to go and make a movie in England, and my dad didn't want her taking us out of the country. We were at a hotel, and we were at the Stanhope Hotel in New York, and we had gone to the park, and we came back, and we were in my dad's room. We did this just like it happened. And, you know, all of a sudden, Mama had been upstairs with the agents and security people, and they sort of told her how to do this, how to get us away from our dad. And she came in the room, and all of a sudden, I remember hearing, he hit me. These two guys came in, and they held my dad, and Mama just took us out, just like what happened in the movie.
Just like what we're seeing.
But there
right
were
now?
a lot of police. There were a lot of people in the hallway. It wasn't just, you know, like this. There were a lot more people, but of course, we had to scale it down. But funnily enough, we weren't afraid. We really weren't afraid.
Is that
I didn't
true,
have a
though,
shoe.
about the shoe?
Yeah, I didn't have a shoe.
Did she actually say to you, don't worry, they'll have shoes
There's
in London?
shoes in London. Yeah, and I remember we got into the elevator, and there were a lot of people in the elevator, and we went downstairs, and we all got into a limousine with a lot of people, and off we went to the airport. We had no luggage. We had nothing.
Really?
We swung around to get Liza, because Liza was at a friend's house, and we all went to London, just like
Amazing.
that.
But the recreation of this television show is it's exactly the choreography. Miranda Garrison, who was our choreographer,
Yes.
was very, very faithful to everything.
Actually, when she was doing her television show, it was a good time because she was working every day. She had fun doing this series. It was a tough time, though, because
the
again,
schedule for
the
her
schedule
was murder.
But she loved working with the guest stars that she was working with, and she knew that if she could finish this, and if everybody promised her what they had promised her, it would financially really, really get her out of a jackpot of back taxes. And she really thought that this was all going to work, and then it didn't. But what's I love about this scene was that this was so eerie, how Judy Davis did this, and it is Judy Davis singing.
Yeah, that is Judy Davis singing Over the Rainbow.
And it's so wonderful because this was one of the times I thought that my mom had, you know, come back as a ghost, you know, and was standing right behind Judy Davis, you know, saying this is the right thing to do.
This is a really sad episode in her life,
Yes.
I think, much more than we were able to even capture in the movie.
Right, and in reality, I wasn't.
You weren't there.
I wasn't
know.
in
reality,
Australia.
You weren't there, but we put you there. I'll tell you why we put you
Right.
there, because at a certain point, it being based on your book, we felt that it was important to start shifting the focus of the movie more and more towards your point of view,
Correct.
since it is you telling the story. So we decided that you should be a witness to this, even though I know in reality
And
you
this
weren't.
was and this was also, it represented also the first time that we really saw my mom struggling.
Well-
and because we'd been hidden from it a great deal, and we had to show that all of a sudden Joe and I were aware that things were not right and things were not going well.
Uh-huh. But this scene has always been one of the most disturbing things to me. This sort of passing on to you of the responsibility of taking care of your mother's medication.
Mm-hmm.
That really happened.
Yeah,
so
it
you
did.
were the one. You were the keeper of the medicine.
Well, you know, when you have someone who's in your family who's ill, you do everything you can to make sure that they're all right. So what we thought we were doing was the right thing. We never thought of it as drugs. Drugs was something really bad and awful. This was her medication. We never equated that we shouldn't have been doing that. But once you have this in your family, you don't know what to do except continue the pattern. And, you know, when we see these scenes, these were the times that I wasn't on the set. I didn't want to be around to relive this. And on the telephone conversation, that's exactly word for word what I said and what I did. And Allison did it so brilliantly, and so it's probably these are the scenes in this movie that I walk out of the room.
Yeah. Very sad.
Yes, it was very, very, very sad.
Still very, very sad.
Yes.
47 years old. She was only 47 when she died.
She was only 47.
It's horrible.
Yeah. But what a life in 47 years, and what she left us, and what she left to me is just extraordinary. And I'm so grateful for all of that, and so grateful that I have all those movies and all of those memories and all of that. And what we did is this is a love letter to her.